Hello everyone, JesterGio here. Welcome back to another installment of First Look. In today's video, we will be talking about the Escapologist, the first of the 3 characters coming to the game. Escapologist will be coming next Wednesday/Thursday when the second essence comes out. With that in mind, the gameplay for his abilities came out, so we all are able to analyze his trailer. The consensus from the community about Escapologist was the fact that he was a broken survivor or an S-tier survivor. As for me, I was kinda torn on how I feel about him. On one hand, I definitely see the potential his kit provides and how good it could be. On the other hand, though, I also don't think a lot of the stuff that was shown is broken beyond any stretch of the imagination. I needed to see him in action before I could judge him, which is exactly what the test server is for. I've seen enough of the test server now, so I think it's about time we finally analyze Escapologist. As per usual, we will cover the abilities he does first before getting into my thoughts on Escapologist. Escapologist is a support survivor, who starts the game with 2 thuribles on his hands. Like every item-based survivor, this means once he uses up all his thuribles, he can pick up a chest item. Escapologist can throw this thurible on the floor, in which a smokescreen will appear. This smokescreen has an outer radius of 16.9 meters and an inner radius of 11.8 meters. This smokescreen lasts for 15 seconds, in which being inside of the smoke will greatly reduce visibility. When a survivor is near the outer ring of the smokescreen, they will be undetectable to the hunter. This means they will not be highlighted by hunter-specific highlights and won't be tracked by the radar. Not only that, but certain projectiles and summons cannot pass through the smokescreen. This means, if you're outside of the smokescreen and you try and place a tentacle inside, the game will stop you from doing so. On the opposite side of the spectrum, if you're inside of the smokescreen and try to throw a fog blade outside, it will be stopped. When you leave a smokescreen area, your location will be revealed to the hunter after 7 seconds. Escapologist doesn't leave any footprints when within the outer ring of the smokescreen. However, if he and the hunter are next to this outer ring, the hunter's location is also revealed to him. It says the opposite in the trailer, but I think this is a translation error from the English trailer. Plus, the video shows both him and the hunter near the ring and Ripper's location was exposed. Because of that, it's safe to assume this is either a translation error or they just worded it wrong. And, seeing how Knight's All Thumb's description was wrong, this is likely the case here. He can throw this thurible either at his feet or at a pretty far distance, and the cooldown of this ability is 25 seconds. Escape Act is his next ability, which he also only has 2 uses of this ability and it has a 20-second cooldown. When a survivor is placed on a rocket chair, you can use this ability to move the survivor onto another chair. You only have 5 seconds to choose whether to move them or not, so keep that in mind. When using this ability, you can move survivors to rocket chairs within a 38-meter radius. During the transfer process, the chair timer is paused, giving the team a bit more time to do what they need. After the transfer process, the survivor on chair cannot be interacted with for 6 seconds. This means a survivor cannot be rescued during that locked time, so keep that in mind as well. He can also move himself to different chairs when he himself is on a rocket chair. Finally, you cannot move survivors placed in the basement rocket chairs, so try your best to avoid basement. One more thing to note before moving on, but there will always be a thurible on every chair location. I know the skill says, when a thurible is on a chair, but you don't need to worry about wasting thuribles on chairs. Additionally, you don't need your main item in order to use Escape Act, so don't worry about using your main item. Misdirection is a one-time use ability, which allows Escapologist to tank the first hit equal to or greater than 1 normal hit. This means, if he gets hit by a crazy attack multiplier like a terror shock against Detention Joseph, this ability will still protect him. On top of that, this ability also forces him out of any animations he's in and instantly moves him forward a short distance. This means, if he is vaulting a window or rescuing a survivor when he is hit, those animations will finish immediately when the hit happens. However, keep in mind that the rescue animation needs to be completed in its entirety in order for the rescue to count. This means that you won't be able to use this ability to instant rescue people from chairs. This also means that if you're hit in the middle of a stun, you will be automatically freed from that stun after the hit. This ability is pretty much just flywheel in a trait, so it can be incredibly handy to have. However, chip damage will not count for this ability and will still damage him, so be careful against chip hunters. Finally, Anticipation grants him a 10% interaction buff, which will definitely help him in rock hiding situations. I know it only says obstacle vaulting speed, but vaulting speed and pallet dropping speed are tied together in this game. Because of that, on top of being able to vault obstacles faster, but he will also be able to drop pallets faster. Additionally, when a survivor is tied to the balloons, his teammates will be highlighted to him. However, on top of that, he will suffer a 15% decoding debuff as a cost for this buff. And with that, we've pretty much talked about his entire kit. Overall, it's definitely an ability set that I can confidently say that no one expected. A lot of ideas that were passed around was the idea that he could have a key to rescue himself or teammates from chairs themselves. While that would have been cool to see, I think what we ended up getting was the better character in my opinion. But enough about hypotheticals, let's actually talk about Escapologist as he is now. Even with his full kit shown off, a lot of people still think that he is a good survivor and potentially a meta survivor. Now, do I necessarily agree with that notion that he is a good survivor? Actually, yeah, I do agree that Escapologist is a good character. Whether he's meta or not, we will have to see when he's finally released into rank. However, from what little I've seen about Escapologist, there's a lot of potential with his kit. Let's start off with the tamest of his abilities, that being Anticipation. Honestly, when reviewing IDV characters, I feel like a lot of the player base heavily underestimates rock hiding. Obviously, people are not saying that rock hiding is bad and you shouldn't learn how to do it. However, I don't think a lot of people recognize just how impactful it can be because of the meta. Due to a lot of the survivor meta revolving around using items to counter abilities, the rock hiding aspect often gets overshadowed. With that said, when you want to save items or don't have any more items on hand, that rock hide is crucial. Because of that, I think Escapologist having this base kit buff is incredible, especially with how his ability works. His teammate highlight is also good, since it allows him to see which chair your teammate might be placed on. It can also allow you to somewhat strategize who should go in for the rescue. Other than that, I don't think this ability is too impactful otherwise. Moving on to the chair swap ability, I think this ability, while it does have flaws, is a great tool to have. Now, the obvious benefit to this chair movement is the fact that you can move survivors from cipher machines. When playing as Hunter, the best way to maximize pressure is by chairing survivors on cipher machines. This prevents the team from working on the cipher, thus granting you more time in the match. In fact, this is a problem that I'm sure we are all still experiencing right now. This ability basically makes those situations impossible now, which can be very beneficial. Another benefit to using this ability is by using it to move survivors to better chase areas. There are situations where the hunter will either chair a survivor on an awful chair or in an area barren of resources. These chairs basically reduce the chances of a rebound kite for survivors, especially if they don't have any items on hand. They're given nothing to work with in these situations, which could lead to a quick and easy down-off chair. This ability prevents these situations, as you can move a survivor from these chairs to an area with resources. This grants the teammate a better chance at a rebound kite, which can really help the team. Additionally, this ability also makes comp teching a lot stronger for the survivors. The hunter can't really chair in a corner chair when a survivor is comp teching with this ability. Corner chairs are usually bad because they are sometimes away from useful resources. Because of that, this ability really helps with the rebound and saving time for the team. The final reason why this ability is so good, which relates to saving time, is the chair time being paused. You can say that the chair moving ability is niche because there might not be a point to moving the chair. You can also say it's not really gonna secure rescues since the survivor cannot be rescued for 6 seconds. While all of that is true, just the fact that the chair timer is paused during transfer makes this skill incredibly useful. It's just more time given to the team, which you can use to do what you need to do. Whether it's to decode, go in for rescues, or set up the support, every second counts in the match. That's not even factoring in the fact that you can use this ability twice, even on the same survivor. This can easily turn the tides of a match, even securing a win situation against a hunter who can snowball well. This also isn't even considering who was placed on the chair when you do the swap. Imagine if the person you are swapping is a gardener with her chair time buff or painter with snooze. That can be a ton of time saved for the survivors, which is incredible. Because of all of that, I am a big fan of this skill and think it's an incredible ability. Another incredible ability he has in his arsenal is misdirection. I mean, it's a free flywheel use early game, why would it not be useful? Now, obviously, if you're against a chip hunter who can spam their chips, this ability won't be able to do much. However, against chip hunters who really can't do that, like Fool's Gold or Violetta, this skill can be proven useful. These hunters can't really rely on chip hits to get the down, so this ability will be extremely helpful. Not only that, but misdirection is phenomenal at dealing with various hunter abilities. Damage abilities, such as Naiad's Moisture, are completely nullified with this ability, which makes those abilities less of a threat. Additionally, this means that some early game menaces, like Smiley, will have a harder time getting an early down thanks to this ability. If a hunter stuns Escapologist and then hits him, he will be freed from the stun thanks to this ability. He can also just tank any terror shock with this ability, which has a lot of utility to it. Whether it's vaulting a window or trying to rescue, this ability will help you take those risks. I do understand that it might not seem that bad because it's a one-time use and it only works on damage greater than chip damage. However, I do think the things you can do with this one ability is more than enough to make this skill worthwhile. Finally, we get into the actual smokescreen ability, which also does have potential to it. Now, before you get to typing, yes, I understand that there are a lot of flaws with smokescreen worth noting. This smokescreen does not counter certain aspects about certain hunters, which can be bad. It doesn't stop dashes or mobility abilities, so those abilities can still be a problem to deal with. Additionally, non-projectile abilities, like Tempest and Jump Crash, will completely ignore this property. Even with that in mind, there are certain projectiles, such as Axe Boy Souls, which still can go through this ability. While some summons, like Hullabaloo's clones, won't go through the smokescreen, Leo's Fire Spirits will be able to pass just fine. That is really bad and can be punishing for Escapologist facing those hunters. However, I still think the smokescreen provides a lot of coverage and utility for the survivors. Despite it not working on certain abilities, it does work on most of the projectiles in this game. Fog Blade, Pickaxe, Miracle Orbs, Bombs, these are some of the abilities that will not be able to pass the ring when used. This property makes Smokescreen an incredible transition ability to use. You basically are given safety when transitioning into these areas, which is great. Additionally, if it's a hunter with highlights, the ring itself will conceal you from the highlight. Being inside of the actual smokescreen won't provide this cover, so that's something to keep in mind. However, if you set your ring up well, you can hide away from the hunter very easily. When placed in certain palette areas, mind games can be pretty effective when using this ability. Combine that with the hunter being highlighted and it can be very easy to maneuver around them. This ability can also be good for transitioning if you leave the smoke. Since you're undetectable while inside of the smoke, you should be able to leave if the situation is given. Your location will only be revealed 7 seconds after leaving, so that gives you a ton of time to be able to work with. Combine that with a kiting talent, like Knee Jerk, and you can travel a far distance before the hunter realizes it. That's not even getting into their support or rescue potential. Whether it be to mask the rescuer or help prevent a teammate from being bursted, this ability is great for team play. I understand that this ability does have its flaws and won't come in handy in every single situation. With that said, this ability is still a game changer in most situations and will always be useful to have. Overall, I think the Escapologist has a lot of potential to be a really good survivor. Sure, he does have a lot of weaknesses that can definitely hold him back at times. However, for the most part, I can definitely see him being a force to be reckoned with in the right hands. Where he will be placed in the meta, we will have to wait and see. Just know that he will be a decent survivor to play as, you'll just need a lot of skill to play him. On that note, that's all for my thoughts on Escapologist for now. We will be diving more into the Escapologist once I've been able to play him myself, so look forward to that. Until then, thank you so much for watching and I'll see you all next time.